you pretend to be a startup founder who is facing a series of challenges of increasing complexity, and you try to solve them to become a successful, well-funded startup. Are you ready to go?
Yeah,
Okay, so your name is Nikhil, and can you tell us a little bit about what your real startup is about?
yeah, sure. So I'm currently trying to build out something that we're calling Node Map. Um, Basically, it's a way to visualize like resources, to-do list, guides into like a visual map. It's like a node graph
Hmm.
where each node represents a step, which could be either a step in your learning or something like that, with a link between it to show you sort of the path that you want to take.
Okay, great. So it's like for creating like worksheets or like educational materials?
Yeah, that's some of the stuff we've been getting good feedback on is the educational side. So people that are trying to educate others by giving them guides, or they've done a talk, for example, and they want to leave some resource behind almost. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Um, okay, so I'm gonna get into the scenario. So this is the role-playing part of the game. We're gonna do a little bit of setup. So I'm just gonna review some of the rules with you, and we're gonna roll for your initial levels.
Okay.
Okay, so first, a review of your magical abilities. Um, you're only going to have like 3 or 4 challenges in this whole thing, but you get 2 rewinds. That means you can go back in time to an earlier choice or decision or, something
Okay.
earlier in the show. You get 1 undo, which is just like a quick decision that you just didn't want to make and you just undo it.
Yeah.
And then 1 like reveal of truth, right? And that's just kind of like you can see into the future, you can see what the situation is. Say you have like a really tough investor, right? And they don't want to give you funding. You can be like, what is going on with this investor? Like like are they having a bad day? What's
Yeah.
going on? And we'll reveal the truth. Um, okay, so um, let's choose your startup idea and roll for your initial levels. So, um, geez, sorry about that background noise. Um, we'll cut that out in the final one. Okay, so we have your level of challenge, your team cohesion, your leadership structure, um, team motivation, and funding. So I'm gonna open up a tab here and roll for those. And it looks like you have 2, 10, 2, 19, and 5. You got you got a couple twos though. Um, okay, so your first 2 is your level of challenge. Unfortunately, this means you have really hard luck. So
You sure
in
you could switch it? That
a
seems hardest.
okay, so if you want, you can do an you can use a rewind here, and we can re-roll if you want.
Actually, yeah, yeah, go for it.
Okay, okay,
I'll
okay.
rewind straight off the bat.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so we have a 15, a 11. Let's write these down. I wasn't planning on this. Okay, 11, 16, and another 16. Well, you got much better rolls this time. And a
Yeah.
19. Oh my
This
goodness.
was this was the right choice.
That was the right choice. Okay, so let's see what this means. Do. Okay, so for the level of challenge, you rolled a 15, which means you have to work really hard still, but things tend to work out, okay, as long as you work hard. Um, for the team cohesion, you rolled an 11, which means the team likes working together, but they only care about getting stuff done. So it's kind of a mid-range roll,
Hmm.
but it's still pretty good, right? The leadership structure, you rolled a 16, which means you have a best friend as a co-founder. This can be a little bit risky, but it means they genuinely care, right?
Yeah.
You're going to sometimes disagree. If you disagree, it can get pretty heated, but you guys usually know how to recover from that. Okay, and then the team motivation is a 16. That is not as good as your last roll. So you don't have focused, high achieving people, but 16 means you can work through any challenge given enough time.
Okay.
Um, and the funding is 19. Your parents know some people, so you have no problem raising funding.
Bit different to real life, that one.
Yeah, exactly. You have about 5 years of runway, that means. Okay.
Cool.
Okay, so now we're going to choose your startup idea from three possible ideas. The first idea is a tool to help you decide whether you can afford to buy a house or a car. Um, a marketplace. The second idea is a marketplace for selling and buying used baby goods.
Okay.
So like strollers, or I'm like in that situation right now. So, okay. And the third idea is an app that lets you snap a photo of a room and convert it into a VR experience. That's virtual reality for anyone who doesn't know.
um, what was the first one again?
A tool to help you decide whether you can afford to buy a house or a car.
Yeah,
So it's
let's go
kind of
for
like
that
a
one.
planning
Let's go
app.
for that one.
Oh, very, I like that. Okay, very practical. Okay, perfect. So now we have your level of challenge, team cohesion, leadership structure, team motivation, funding, and your startup idea, a tool to help you decide whether you can afford to buy a house or a car. We're gonna enter the first challenge very soon, but the first thing I have to ask you, Nikhil, is many adventurers have gone down this path before of trying to create a successful startup and failed. What makes you think you have the strength to overcome the same challenges they faced and succeed where they failed?
I have zero baggage. This is my punt. Uh, I've got no baggage, and I've got an unlimited runway. Well, not unlimited, but 5 years is pretty unlimited in my life. 'Cause I'm only 21.
Nice. Okay, so no baggage, and that makes it so that, like, what do you feel like that gives
Fresh,
you?
fresh ideas, fresh creative ideas.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. Okay, let's go into it. So we have three or two big challenges ahead of you, and then the final challenge is going to be a big choice between two things that will send you down very different paths.
Okay.
Okay. So the first challenge is your team had a hard day. You spent about $500 on Facebook ads and you only got 2,000 impressions, or you got 2,000 impressions, so that's good, but you got no signups. At the end of the day, you go to the bar with your team and overhear someone complaining um, about how expensive houses are and how they wish they could figure out how to save enough. Okay, so perfect. They're like right in your target market. You approach them and start a conversation. They feel like you really understand their problem based on the conversation. So excitedly, you pull out your phone and bring up your product's website and show it to them. There's a pause, and then they say, I'm sorry, what is this? I don't understand what this does. How do you respond?
Okay. Um, Firstly, I think I'd put them at ease a little bit. Say, be completely honest. We've actually had trouble communicating this before. Um, we've tried and probably failed, judging by the return on investment. Let's call it. Um, I think I'd be tempted to ask him to come along and have like a meeting, and because if we can target to that one guy,
Mm,
then we can target to thousands of guys like him. So if he comes and helps us write the copy or the advert or whatever, then I think we could get increased engagement. And what we can also do is, because he's excited about the problem and he has the problem, some of the team that aren't so excited could see him having a problem, and this might motivate them to fix his problem as well.
yeah.
So they could be working with him in the meeting, for example. And obviously, because we've got a lot of funding, we can pay him off handsomely.
Nice. Okay, so your idea is let's try to bring him back to the office. We're going to offer him some payment in return for his time. And you're going to just get to know him because if you can target him, you can target a lot of people like him. And
Exactly.
also bringing him into the office and having the whole team see that process, you're going to motivate your team to work harder on the problem because they're going to see a real person having trouble with this. Okay,
Exactly.
that's brilliant. So we're gonna have a little mini challenge follow up to this. Okay.
Okay.
So that guy's name's Joe. I'm Joe now. Okay. I want you to. You're showing me your website. Okay. It's up. It's right in front of me. I want you to guide me through a few questions. So how are you going to come up with this marketing copy that you're talking about?
Um, I think it's got to start with the problems. So I think firstly we have to look at what we've written
Mhm.
and see what's wrong with it, what he doesn't understand. I mean, I'm assuming there'll be a couple of bits that he's like, okay, yeah, I kind of get that,
Mm,
which we can work on. But yeah, I
yeah.
think it's got to start with him either highlighting things he doesn't get or any questions that he has at the end after reading everything.
Okay. Okay. So like, what if he goes to your website? He's like, here it says I can afford anything. I can, save money and, save for retirement and save for anything. And he's like, I have no idea what this has to do with me or my problems. Like, it's not specific to my life. How do you respond and how do you kind of go deeper into that?
I suppose it is asking him about what his problems are, knowing whether he can buy a house, and we can even go to like what type of house are you buying. He might say like a two bedroom house or whatever, uh, and then we can build a user profile from that, and easily just get a picture of someone on the
Mm,
website and say I was looking for a two-bedroom house with my app.
mm,
This is how I was able to do it, and sort of story tell why
yeah.
why why this suits people basically. Yeah.
Okay, and then just the final follow-up question to this. So let's say you come to the end of this and it's very clear that what this guy wants is not the ability to save for anything, right? Like a car or a house or whatever. He just wants it to be all about houses, right? And he wants it to be automatic. Like he does not want to have to do any work. He wants you to guys to go into his bank account and take the money out to make him save for this thing. And he just wants it to be like, okay, pick a house. We're going to help you save for that. It's going to be a 10-year timeline or whatever. And we're going to take the money out of your account for you. And so basically, he's asking for some kind of banking app. Um, how do you, as a team, decide to respond to that? And you're in a major leadership position, so you can have most of the choice there.
Okay. I think it depends on one thing. Can I ask you?
Yeah,
Am I allowed to ask questions?
of course.
How many um, how many people have we found with that problem that we're trying to solve already?
Okay, yeah. So let's say it's about half and half, and let's say the people interested in the banking app are a little bit more willing to pay. But the people looking for, just some advice about how to save, they're much less willing to pay. They might like buy like a $5 app in the App Store kind of thing,
Hmm.
but they're not gonna like subscribe to your,
Yeah.
SaaS or something.
Well, then, in my perspective, um, I think if we, I think we should try and find more people who want the banking stuff because that's more of a value proposition. The other one's more about education, I feel,
Mm.
and I mean, we can always do like talks and stuff, but if we're actually thinking about what value we can offer people, we're basically asking for a charge for them to be lazy, which I
Okay.
think is a good place to be.
Yeah.
So if we can find more people and like confirm that that's a problem, then I think we're onto something.
Okay, absolutely. Okay, so that sounds good. So you're gonna explore more, like see if there's more people out there. If there are, you're gonna head in that direction of building a banking app and charge more money, but also take on a lot more complexity.
Yeah, exactly. And if
Okay.
if if we can't find any people as well, I think that it's time to try and find more people like Joe.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so sorry. I just want to like have a commit to a decision here. So let's
Okay.
say over you interview, let's say 100 people, and let's say about 20% of them are very interested in a banking app. Do you decide to go forward with that or not?
Yeah,
Yes.
I
Okay,
go forward with
perfect.
it.
So you're building the bank app. So here you've taken on a lot of complexity,
Hmm.
but you've shown a very strong signal of passion for this idea. Your sorry, your bonus here, your power up, is that you are able to recruit two very high profile uh, tech workers. So people, coders who are
Hmm.
very interested in banking and interested in your idea. And that's because you've chosen a very hard challenge. Okay, so you got a power up. Um, okay, cool. So that was the first big challenge. We're gonna move on to the second big challenge, and I'll try to like speed this one up a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, so after reviewing the signups on your website, um, and you change your messaging and everything to the banking app, and you've started building that. So after reviewing the signups, you've realized there's been a huge jump. You've gone from getting no signups to about 50 signups a day. However, no one is paying for your service yet. They're just using the free accounts, that you've released. Um, but you decide to call up your uncle's friend, who is a high-profile venture capitalist, to see if you can get more funding to grow out your team more, because the challenge you've taken on requires a bigger team. And he says he'll fund your startup if you have 50 paying customers by the end of the month. How do you increase your customer base?
Paying customer base, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Uh, get rid of the free trial, free sign up, free account. Get rid of it. Just pay. Ask them to pay something really silly. You know, less than a dollar or a pound or whatever. Something that they would spend more on a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Um, and because I'm a firm believer in the fact that if you charge something nothing for something, it's difficult to get them to pay anything. Whereas
Hmm.
if you charge them $1, it's easy to get them to pay $8.
Okay. Okay.
Not easy, but easier.
Yeah. And do you think your uncle's friend will be satisfied with that if you have 50 customers who are all paying a dollar?
I think if we're able to communicate this idea of it being easier with the data that has filled my head with this idea of it being easier to upsell people that are already paying something. I mean, they're already used to the money coming out of their account, for example, seeing you in their banking app or whatever. So yeah, I think we'd stand a good chance in him being satisfied.
Okay. So let's say, and this is just the one follow-up challenge here. Let's say you are able to get, let's say 100 paying customers, but they're all
Hmm.
paying the dollar amount. And your uncle's friend says, that's not good enough. I want them to be paying at least $20 a month.
Hmm.
Um, what do you do then as a follow-up?
I'd I'd kind of be tempted to, instead of getting that amount to pay 20, get 20 times that amount to pay one.
Hmm.
Um, because I think if we've already got to that stage where, how many did you say it was? 100.
Uh, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, if we've got to 100, I reckon we can get to 2,000,
Hmm.
dipping into some of the marketing budget and with our better um, converting copy as well.
Yeah.
I think if we can find a sustainable way of using some of the funds from my friends and family money,
Yeah.
um, that we can get to 2,000, and then again, I think we'd have a good case of saying, why do they need to pay 20 when we got 20 that time? 20 the
Right.
amount, paying the same amount of money.
Okay, cool. So I think that goes well. Your team likes working together and they're really motivated. And you guys just work really hard. Maybe it takes like a year, but you start to see a lot of progress in that area and um, you do get your uncle's friend on board. He commits to leading a Series A round for a lot of money, that will let you hire a much bigger team and scale much faster.
Hmm.
So well done with that.
Yay.
Okay, so we're on to the final challenge.
Cool.
Okay.
This is a
Um,
big one.
this is the big one. So your startup gets hundreds of bad reviews on a review website that your customers frequent. New signups slow down to a trickle. Now you're only getting, let's say, a few dozen per day, whereas before you were getting hundreds.
Hmm.
You think these review this to your uncle's friend, the investor, but they decide to pull their funding anyways. You've started to scale your team massively, so your runway has decreased to maybe a year or two.
Hmm.
So you kind of need that funding. Um, Here's the choice. Do you spend months, probably 6 to 12 months, trying to contest every negative review with absolutely no guarantee that they'll be removed? Or do you take an acquisition offer from a competitor, not the competitor that you think it is, but a competitor where you and all of your teammates would get high level positions, twice your last salary, so whatever salary you had at the company before you worked at the startup, and excellent benefits?
I think that that offer's too good to refuse because the other alternative could end in me having to lay all these people off that have only worked for me for a year or
Hmm.
a few months. So yeah, I think the acquisition.
Okay. You go with the acquisition. Okay. I'm going to describe to you your final fate based on your choice. So you save up a good amount of money and have much more work-life balance, but you feel a little hungry to create a new product. You have more than enough savings to venture out as an entrepreneur again if you want to, but you keep getting promoted every time you think about it. Your stress levels are low and you don't feel the weight of the world on your shoulders anymore.
That is that's the life.
That's
Isn't that what we're all aiming for?
pretty good, yeah.
Yeah,
That's pretty good.
that was great.
Okay, so let's just take like a minute or two, or less, right? Just tell me, how do you feel about that series of challenges, that adventure that you just went through?
I feel good. I feel like my brain's been exercised a little bit. You know, um,
Nice.
I think it's always good to as well to like think about these things before I may encounter them as well. Some of these things, obviously, or similar things, will be big decisions in the future potentially.
Hmm.
Um, it's kind of nice to do exercises like this because you watch a lot of stuff about how these things happen, but I mean, I suppose if you leave it till when it happens, you kind of a little bit screwed.
Yeah,
But so yeah, to be honest, it's kind of motivated me to think about it a little more. Weirdly, which is quite cool.
that's awesome.
Yeah,
And are you happy with your choices?
yeah, I think so. I mean, I used my rewind at the start, but I didn't use anything else. So yeah, I think I'm pretty happy.
Okay. So there's no point, and we don't have to go back, but like, is there any point during this, any of the challenges where you feel like, maybe I would go back and make a slightly, like, I'm interested in what would have happened if I made a different decision?
Yeah, I think the main one would be when we switched the idea for the app, or I guess iterated on it.
Mhm.
Oh, because it is a gut feeling thing. I think whether to jump to the shiny object that like one person said they want,
Right,
or carry on with the thing that maybe no one says they want, but five could or
right,
something.
right.
Um, I think it's always difficult to do that. So yeah, I'd be intrigued to see what would happen if it had sticked.
So if you would have gone with that other approach, right? Maybe there's like less market demand, right? But maybe even more people would sign up for it.
Hmm.
And you're able to make like a pretty like consistent living from it. So you'd be working with friends, you'd be at your own startup, you'd be your own boss. But let's say you'd be making a lot less, or not a lot less, but let's say like half the salary you would have at the big company.
Hmm.
Um, but you're still working with your friends either way. It's just a difference of if you decide to take your startup in a new direction, you can. You have 100% control over it.
Yeah,
Which one would you rather have?
I think that one. I think that one. But what I like about the other one is that that feeling of wanting to create something else. Like
Mm,
go and do something else. I feel like if I was to carry on with this one, it might be more difficult to leave
mm,
because maybe I don't want to,
yeah,
or maybe also just the circumstance of like being around friends and being the first one to be like, right, I think I'm out, sort of thing.
right.
Um, yeah,
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But you think you would choose the startup one, the less pay but more control, or
I think so. Yeah, I think
okay,
so.
okay. Very interesting. Cool. So that was the first episode of Dev RPG. Thank you for joining, Nikhil. It was a lot
Thanks
of
for having me
fun.
on. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was really fun. Really enjoyed it.
And we would just like to know where to find you online.
Uh, I'm just gonna plug my Nodemap, I think. So the URL for that is nodemap.io, and the I think we're most active on Twitter. Right? My personal stuff gets shared on there as well. So that's just at Nodemap um, on Twitter. Yeah,
Okay, nice. That's a great name. I can't believe you got that on Twitter at NodeMap.
yeah. Neither could we. Like the only places online we can find it is like really maths based stuff.
Yeah.
So I mean, even like SEO and stuff's not been that hard. Um, so yeah, we kind of struck gold a little bit. There was actually one person who had that same name before, but he gave us the LinkedIn for it, the
Oh,
LinkedIn
that's
at
awesome.
NodeMap, because he'd shut his company down. But yeah,
That's sweet. Okay, well you heard it. So if you're a creator or an educator or a presenter of some kind, and you need some presentation, some like worksheet, right, or map of your information to go along with your talk, then go to nodemap.io. Okay, awesome.
nice.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Nikhil.
Cheers.
Cheers.